This is not an oil rig. It's not a ship. It's something that shouldn't exist. 488 meters long, longer than the Empire State Building is tall, heavier than 6 of the largest aircraft carriers ever built, made from enough steel to construct 35 Eiffel Towers. Shell's Prelude FLNG displaces 600,000 tons of water when fully loaded. And it does something no structure this size has ever done before. It takes raw natural gas from deep beneath the ocean floor and transforms it into liquid fuel. Right here, in the middle of nowhere. This is Prelude, the largest floating structure humanity has ever built. And the story of how it got here is the story of what happens when engineers refuse to accept the impossible. Think of Prelude as a floating city that happens to be a gas refinery. Every component of an industrial plant that normally sprawls across kilometers of coastline, squeezed onto a single deck. Shell spent over 1.6 million engineering hours shrinking that plant down. The processing modules pack into 1/4 the space of an equivalent onshore facility. Below deck, storage tanks hold 436,000 cubic meters of liquefied fuel, the equivalent of 175 Olympic swimming pools, chilled to minus 162 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, natural gas becomes a liquid, shrinking to 1/600th of its original volume. Suddenly transportable, suddenly valuable. Cooling all that gas requires 50 million liters of seawater every hour. 8 massive intake risers drop 150 meters below the surface, where the water is 6 to 10 degrees colder. Enough flow to fill 20 Olympic pools every 60 minutes. But the real engineering marvel sits at the bow, a turret mooring system 93 meters tall and 26 meters wide, large enough to fit the Arc de Triomphe inside. 16 anchor chains connected to 16 steel piles, driven 65 meters into the seabed. The entire 600,000-ton facility can rotate 360 degrees around this turret, following the wind, following the waves. It's called weather vaning. And it's the reason Prelude can survive what's coming. Prelude sits in what mariners call Cyclone Alley, one of the most hostile ocean environments on Earth. From November to April, Category 5 storms tear through these waters with 300-kilometer-per-hour winds and waves reaching 20 meters high. Traditional offshore platforms evacuate when cyclones approach. Shut everything down. Wait for the storm to pass. But Prelude can't do that. It was designed to ride out a 1 in 10,000-year storm without ever disconnecting. For 25 years. The problem isn't just surviving the waves, it's what happens inside. LNG tanks on normal carriers are either completely full or completely empty. But Prelude operates partially loaded. And when a half-full tank meets a cyclone, the liquid sloshes violently. Shell ran a 6-year study just on sloshing. Full-scale wave impact tests. The solution? Pairs of side-by-side tanks with reinforced internal structures, designed to absorb forces that would rupture a conventional vessel. If you're finding this engineering as fascinating as I do, hit subscribe. We go deep on the world's most extreme structures, from floating gas cities to machines that reshape continents. 3 Rolls-Royce thrusters, each producing 6,700 horsepower, help maintain position during the most extreme conditions. Not to move Prelude, just to keep it pointed in the right direction. Before Prelude could face cyclones, it had to get here. The world's biggest tow, 5,800 kilometers across open ocean, 5 specialized tugs, 160 crew members living aboard for nearly a month. Navigating narrow channels with currents so strong, one captain compared it to driving a fast car through a tight corner, with a vehicle half a kilometer long. On arrival, 6 tugs held the facility in position, while crews connected 16 mooring chains to the turret, each chain weighing thousands of tons, each connection critical. Chain 8, August 2017. That was the moment Prelude was declared storm-safe, ready to face whatever the Timor Sea could throw at it. Today, an LNG carrier arrives every 5 to 6 days, 15-hour loading operations transferring enough fuel to heat a large city for a week. Custom marine loading arms track the carrier's movement in open ocean swells, something never attempted at this scale before. 220 crew members work in rotating shifts, supported by dedicated helicopters on 24-hour standby in Broome. 15-minute response time during daylight, 30 at night. Because when you're 475 kilometers from shore, you can't call for a quick rescue. This facility cannot enter port for 25 years. Every repair, every replacement, every piece of maintenance, all done offshore. The crew doesn't just operate Prelude, they keep a floating city alive. Prelude proves something engineers had dreamed of since the 1970s. You can build an entire LNG plant on a floating platform. You can anchor it through cyclones. You can unlock gas reserves that would otherwise stay locked beneath the ocean floor forever. 3 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, previously stranded, now fueling cities across Asia. But Prelude also taught the industry a hard lesson. $17.5 billion, electrical failures, shutdowns, a fire that knocked out critical safety systems, capacity running at just 32% in 2022. Shell has publicly stated they won't build another Prelude. The technology works, but the complexity, squeezing that much engineering into one floating structure, created vulnerabilities that even the world's best couldn't fully anticipate. Prelude will likely remain the largest floating structure ever built, not because we can't build bigger, but because we learned that bigger isn't always better. A $17 billion monument to what's technically possible, and a warning about what's operationally practical. Was Prelude worth it? A triumph of engineering, or a cautionary tale about mega projects? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this story made you think, hit the bell to get notified when we publish. Thanks for watching.